All right, guys. New guest on my podcast. We have Mr. Palinsky. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I appreciate you giving me your time coming here. What I usually start by asking you, like, what's your full name and your Russian heritage?
My full name?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have to tell
Not if you don't want to.
them? My real name is Alain,
Alain. That's French.
French name.
Okay.
And last name's Polinsky, which is theoretically Russian. And first generation American.
Okay. I know you're from New York City, so is that where you
Born in New York City.
born New York City?
I don't
Okay.
know where I'm from, but I was born there.
Okay.
Still trying to figure out where I'm from.
What? So both of your parents are Russian.
From Soviet Union, yes.
Okay.
Back then it was the Soviet Union.
Okay. What part of New York?
Born in Queens, grew up in Manhattan.
Okay. How was that? Did you like growing up in New York?
I mean, you don't have a choice.
No, but I mean, was
I
it?
don't look at like dislike. You know, I like it everywhere. Wherever you are is where you are.
But was looking backwards? Was it
I
like?
mean, if I go back to where I was born, it's pretty depressing. But
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice area, like Queens,
no,
Manhattan.
where I was born was not a nice area.
Oh, really?
It wasn't nice.
Huh.
So if I go back there, it's a little bit sad.
Okay.
You know,
Was it like a Russian
it
neighborhood?
was immigrants, small windows, close to the hood.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't. When you go back, when you're a child, the perspective is your kids are happy wherever they are. You don't know the difference. What causes you to dislike or like something is when you have perspective,
Mm.
right? But when it is just what it is, you don't know any different. Then there's no perspective.
So once you start seeing the world and comparing
when you
it,
look back to where you were raised and what's out there and how things are built, then you have a perspective. As a child, you're usually kids are always happy.
hmm
It doesn't matter where you are. It takes time as you get older to see what the difference is and make a choice.
Okay.
But in terms of happy, not happy, I think I was a happy kid.
And your parents, because I grew up my mother's American, my father's Italian, so we grew up with English and Italian in our household. Was it?
We spoke Russian first, obviously. My parents came here in the mid 70s.
Oh, wow.
So I was born 81, so I don't think their English was so good
Okay.
after a couple of years here.
So at home, Russian
Russian.
and school English, obviously.
Correct.
How did you, if people asked you, like, are you American or Russian, what would you say?
I don't know. I mean, very hard to place for me something when it comes to. I understand cultures,
Mm.
so I understand the foundation of which America was built on.
Hmm.
Nice. It's a nice foundation. The idea of who created the United States and the purpose that has long changed. As you get older, you see it's not the same place it was, and the Russian culture, which is kind of embedded in your DNA.
Mm.
I think generationally, whatever, on the spiritual side, where you come from, lineage. First time I went to Russia, I was 20 years old.
Oh.
And there's very common. You feel at home. Like I
Yeah.
feel very home at Russia as well. I mean, although I feel at home kind of everywhere.
That sounds familiar.
But it's familiar.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
I'm in Russia, there's a familiarity.
Okay.
It's a certain place in the world when I travel to, there's something familiar about that.
Oh, cool, man. Tell me more about this. Like, what is it?
I
Like
don't
the,
know,
the
just-
energy or
it's
just
a-
like
it's-
conversations you have with people?
Conversations with people, I don't know so much. Depending on how they're raised and depending on your perspectives. Like it all depends on your awareness. What I've realized is once your awareness is at a certain level,
Yeah.
you start to relate. We're all looking to relate. People are always looking to relate through food, through music, the culture, comparing. We're all trying to relate. That's the whole goal. So
Connect.
you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way of connection. So, in Russia, between the food and the literature and the history, it's a very rich history. I felt very at home, very easy. I understand it. Some people are when they go to Russia a little bit, they're a little afraid, a little concerned. There's other parts of the world I've been to which, I would say I have a lesser relationship with.
Mm.
You
Okay.
know, for example, I was in Venezuela
Oh,
in 2011, and it was a little dangerous. Right, it was dangerous, getting more dangerous. Beautiful city,
Caracas.
one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Uh, but there was less of a familiarity. You know,
Hmm.
I could sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that could be just because of language. Don't always speak Spanish. Back then, much better. Um, it could be just in terms of culture. What
Yeah.
was going on at the time. It was a little bit like kind of dark, but I went to school in Europe. I lived in many countries, so I kind of find my way, and then I find where and what's familiar, and then it becomes very at home.
Huh. Do you find like an affinity with the European culture? Although this is a generalization, there's so many different
I don't know.
countries.
I went to school in Tampa in a sports academy, and I lived with five Japanese guys, and you know, I love the Japanese culture.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
studied Japanese when I was a kid.
Huh.
I don't know. I mean, I find something very familiar about Japan as well.
Uh huh.
And also when you look at as a child what you're kind of drawn to and what you're interested in on the spiritual side, a lot of the Eastern, like a lot of Indian tradition, a lot of the East is very familiar to me. I don't know if that's, I don't know, past life. I don't get all crazy into that, but there's something very familiar there.
Hmm.
And then just the things I would speak about or that would come to me that have nothing to do with my culture
Mm.
or my parents, because I didn't learn it from them because they have no clue.
So where is it coming from?
Correct. So there's something much,
Deeper.
whatever we're tapped into, whatever we're programmed to do, or whatever, how you believe in energy and how things translate is a big part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm always listen. I went to school also in Europe, like I was saying, in a little town of 1,000 people in the mountains
Where was
in
this?
Switzerland
Oh, no way.
for 2 years. And I was training tennis there after I left the Tampa. I don't know. I was very happy in the woods. Walking up the mountain for
Man, going from New York City to Switzerland was a big.
New York, Miami,
Oh, okay. Also, you were already.
Tampa, Boca, Switzerland. I mean, yeah, obviously Florida flat.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I like the mountains. Very familiar.
Huh.
It was very, very peaceful. Culturally, I mean, a little bit. The Swiss are a little different,
Yeah.
and depending what part, I was more the Italian French part.
Okay.
Uh, but walking a mile and a half up the mountain to go train every day in the snow,
Yeah.
very relaxing, very peaceful.
Huh.
Not much stimulation other than nature. I was very at ease. Like kids would go there, they were either punished or the family thought it was a good education. I don't know. My sister had a tough time transitioning from New York to Miami. I never had that problem.
Okay. She lives here.
Yeah, but both. One was born here, and the other one left. She was a little older than me, so we came down from New York. She was already in 10th grade. I was in 8th when we moved to Florida.
Oh.
So it's kind of an age where kids are like rebellious, take away from their friends. I mean,
Okay.
I was fine.
So the transition didn't affect you.
I don't know. I had this really strange when I was really young. I had a really strange. It wasn't strange. I remember things from a very young age, and I remember when I was moving around schools a lot. I went to many different schools, not because of bad grades, just because of either looking for a better education or
Mm.
whatever my parents were guided to do or thought was right. I went to 9 schools before I graduated high school, so I went to a few. But I do remember in one of the schools when I was 5 years old or 6 years old, leaving that school, and I had this very, the thoughts, and I remember that day and everything around me and the moment and the city and the lights and the smells and
Yeah.
the time of day, everything in New York. And my thought came to me, and it was, I may never see these people again. Like this is the last time in my life I may ever see this person. And it was like this strange energy and a feeling like it was a little bit sad,
Huh.
but it was also the reality of life that
Everything transient.
this is just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that was.
And was that the last moment that you actually
I mean,
experienced that
no,
moment?
no. That's always been there, but that was the first time it dawned on me as a very young age. Like kids at 5 years old don't think like, oh, I might never see my friends again.
Yeah.
Or this is like the last time. This is it.
Yeah.
It was sort of like where if I look back now, I don't know if you've watched that. Did you ever watch the documentary I told you, Ram Dass, Becoming Nobody?
I know Ramdas, but I haven't seen
Okay,
this.
you gotta watch that documentary. And if we're born with a certain amount of information and knowledge,
Yeah.
until we're able to access it and interpret it, right? It takes years to develop our bodies, in order for us to digest that information. That awareness was there, and the idea. What I learned is I tell people I haven't gotten smarter, or my awareness hasn't changed much. I haven't
Mm.
since very young. What I'm able to do now is interpret that information differently.
Because you have the tools now.
I start to understand more what it could mean and what it could relate to. Because sometimes things happen, and you're aware of them, but you can't understand them or digest them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an interesting experience from a very young age.
What you mentioned tennis. What's the story behind that? How did you get
So,
into tennis?
so when we moved from New York, I had nothing really to do in Florida. And my favorite sport was hockey.
Oh no.
Growing up was hockey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I played on every. I made every team I tried out for. The only team I didn't make was in middle school in basketball, but eventually I got in the basketball team in Europe. Um, but when we moved to Florida, there's tennis courts and golf courses, and I need to be outdoors, and so the idea was, I got a tennis court,
Huh.
and then my family was. I look back now, like what people go into sports for, or why I kind of chose. I asked my parents to send me to boarding school,
You did.
and so I had a tennis coach, which I'm very fond of, that I was very, looked up to, and the idea was, oh, it's good just to get him focused. So when I was younger, at 12 years old, my attention span, the coach is like, you can't spend more than half an hour on a tennis court with your son because it's, diminishing returns. It's not worth the money.
Huh.
You can't focus more than half an hour. So I had a very difficult time focusing as a kid, and that probably comes from the environment of my family, which how the house was run. They were very disorganized and very argumentative, and so there's a lot of things that shape the choice you make as a child based on what you experience. Now, my sister and I, completely different people. Where I had a lot of awareness, she was very kind of more about how does this affect her in a selfish way, which I'm not saying is right or wrong. It's just how most people.
Younger or older?
Older. The younger one was born 14 years later, so she's 81, 90, 97. I think she's born. We're 14 years apart.
Same parents?
Same parents. She was born in Miami, so she has a different upbringing. By the time she was born, my parents were well off. My dad made money. He did quite well, so her experience is much different than mine. But my point was with my other sister is, I don't know, I was born with this very sensitive understanding of people and things, and how they feel based on environment, and yeah, it was interesting because I convinced them to speak to my coach,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Oh, it's a great idea because you might get a scholarship." But for the high school, maybe get a scholarship, and I went from getting a scholarship to maybe playing pro, so it kind of progressed,
Mm-hmm.
through those years.
So you were a great athlete, but mentally you were not able to focus.
I think as an athlete, I think if you spoke to a few people that know me, few passed away. Yeah, I was very talented as an athlete. What I was able to do in a variety of sports, hand-eye coordination, throwing. But mentally, no. Mentally, it got better, but mentally, I was erratic, and that's from upbringing. So if I look back, it's very important to have structure. But I was on my own, so it wasn't like my family was behind me in sports, or they understood how to manage that. The big issue was I had a really good tutor when I was younger, and he was the headmaster of the lower school in the best school in New York at the time. Actually, where that guy Jeffrey Epstein taught in Dalton.
No way. Same guy?
Not same guy. No. Obviously, he was my tutor. I hope not. No, his name was Mr. Sullivan. I remember very well. And I had a D in the second grade. My grades were bad.
Okay.
And my sister had straight A's. And working with me, he had told my parents that the environment in that school would benefit me and I would excel. because the capacity was there. And then they asked about my sister, and like, yeah, not the right place for her. But like, they're like, he has D's, she has A's. Like, how does that work? So he was like the first person maybe to understand how and what environments certain personalities need to be in. So that was always my issue. Like in school was how do I, what's the right education in the system for me? And so that continued for years. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what that is and how that benefits.
So it sounds like you were never meant to fit in a specific mold. You were out of the norm in any possible way.
No,
Like with your sensitivity and your.
I don't think. Listen, I don't think I'm special. I think there's a lot of people out there that have similar upbringing, understanding situations.
Yeah.
I do think that some people better than others are better equipped to understand where that type of personality can excel and what they look. Everyone should be able to fit into almost everything. We're not asking much either for an education or a certain system. School teaches you discipline. You wake up in the morning. Yes, you could say, "Oh, we're being trained to do, what the governments want." Look, discipline creates freedom. That's how I look at it. There's nothing we're being asked to do that's detrimental to our health. We have a choice of what we eat, how we eat, when you're aware.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, yes, people can argue socioeconomically where they're located and what they serve in supermarkets. But then, I beg to differ because there's a farmer's market everywhere. Some of the poorest people in the world are the healthiest because they eat what's grown.
Mm-hmm.
They have no money for chemicals and, to spray the crops. So I guess more modern societies, what they do, what happens is we have access to fast food and things that, I call the currency of laziness. People become lazy inherently because of what's being provided to them, and that's a tough choice to make. And we see it in from people who are at a lower level economically
Mm-hmm.
to the wealthiest people in the world. So people like to be lazy. It doesn't matter where they come.
That's the default mechanism of everyone.
Default mechanism.
Yeah.
So, wrapping it around, I don't say I didn't fit in or fit in. I just go off the experience of what I was able to learn and what I was able to understand from different schools and different education systems and how they teach. I had Russian tutors and I had, the nervous system I think is a muscle. If you train the nervous system the right way from a young age, and you understand how the nervous system works, because under stress we excel, so there's a certain amount of stress that needs to be applied to the body in order for it to grow. So if we don't put too much stress at a young age on kids, and we know that the muscle, like how long it takes to work out, repair tissue, whatever, how long it takes to recover. As you get older, it takes a little bit longer. The nervous system, similar to me in my, the way I see it, is like a muscle. And over time, it gets stronger and stronger. And so one thing that can get stronger and stronger throughout your life, based on adversity, you learn how to deal with what's coming at you. And that is where I see the disconnect. Because you have to take each person and know where they are, like in sports, and train them individually in order to get them the best out of them. And that's what I think the systems don't do because they want to group everyone in and
But first, sorry for interrupting, man. First, you gotta find what you're passionate about, right? Because if you're putting your energy into a sport, but you don't like sports, or studying, but you don't like school.
You should read some books of some of the best athletes in the world, and they hate the sport.
Agassi, yeah.
No, but even more in football, you can read a bunch of guys. We don't know if the relationship they help the sport that's unhealthy. It's maybe people were pushing them, maybe a mother or father, maybe it was the way out for the family. I don't know, but these athletes, like football players and basketball players, if they have this great athlete and the family sees them as a money-making machine and it gets them out of the situation they're in, they may end up hating it because they will kind of feel like used.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of stories out there, but it's, how would I say this? It's karmic, right? So whether you like it or don't like it, doesn't matter. Cause
That's a very Sibylline answer. But you like playing tennis. You
I
enjoy
love
it.
sports. Period. I mean, listen. I love all sports. I mean,
So you like the lifestyle of an athlete, like the discipline, the routine, the repetitiveness.
I felt my own routine. I was in competition with one person, only, myself. I never looked at anyone else's competition. The best I can do is, that's it. That's how I looked at it. I was never playing against somebody else. I was playing against my ability to fight through my mental challenges and excel on what I know how to do. You know, because
What would you say were your strengths as an athlete?
my strengths. I don't know. I would let someone else answer that question. I that someone else could tell you. That's if someone ever asks me a certain question, I go like, am I a good person? Am I a good boyfriend, husband? I mean, I'm probably not. Ask, why are you asking me? Like, like ask somebody who's, I can give you a list of people to call.
No, let's stay away from them. Man.
No, but it's true. It's like it's like
How do you self-assess yourself? I know, but
self-diagnosing yourself can be dangerous. So what I did in my life is I learned to trust a few people over time, who I respect and value.
like mentors.
Mentors, friends, people who are, and if 4 or 5 people like to really, trust and care about, point out the same thing, I know I have to focus on it.
Huh.
It's something I have to work on. But I leave that. I don't make those. I did a personality test once. I had I found out I had a concussion from a young age, and I went to see this brain doctor in New York.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna name names.
Yeah.
And I went there and have an issue with the coordination and the reaction time from the left side of my body.
Was this prior to your tennis
happened when I was
career?
a kid.
Okay.
And no one knew. This is what they missed it. So I'm ambidextrous, so I ended up playing tennis with my right hand. And when I broke my right arm, I stayed writing with my left. So years later, kind of put the puzzle together. Pupils dilate different rates, car accidents, hospital, coming, hey, did you hit your head? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, your pupils are dilated differently. Like, did you ever have a concussion? I don't know. I hit my head as a kid. Every kid hits their head, right? That's a normal thing.
Uh-huh.
So this doctor does I was like, okay, let me do this brain mapping thing and see, can we figure out the reaction time and how much the difference is and whatever. And he made me take a personality test and do some brain games. And I remember I asked him, what hand do I use? Whichever one you want. I'm like, okay, this is retarded because you're not going to tell which, I need a left-right diagnosis.
Yeah.
Anyway, personality test comes in 1903, asked a bunch of, are you a nice person? And, dude, the questions were so, I come out with every mental illness there is.
No.
I can show you it, and it's levels, right? Antisocial, schizophrenic, narcissistic.
And you were, how old were you when you did this?
30. This happened 2013.
Okay, fairly recently. Okay.
Yeah, this is when I found out when I had this injury with my nerves.
Got it.
When I started losing, dexterity and muscle, I pinched nerves in my neck that run through the arms, and they call TOS. Long story. And I look at it. I remember I had this girlfriend. She asked me a question once. This is she's watching. It'd be great. She's a totally mental case. She asked me, "Has anyone ever told me I'm a narcissist?" Huh. And I said to her, they say true narcissists don't know they're narcissists, but now it's evolving. It's a very, it's mental.
It's a gray area.
Yeah, or they would admit, and since I have some awareness, I would ask myself, am I being narcissistic? The way I think is am I taking advantage of somebody? I always have this mind, whenever I'm doing anything, am I doing something wrong? Is what I'm doing not good for both parties? Am I trying to take advantage of somebody? I've had this awareness since I was really young. So if you ask me, I would say, I don't think I'm a narcissist. Okay. Do they ask those questions? I've asked my therapist that. So she goes to me, if you're a narcissist, I'll have to break up with you. And I said, look, if you want to see someone and get a real evaluation, and I'm not, my mental whatever. If my personality type isn't good for you, I get it. Like I've been through enough relationships to know like why do I want to cause more stress and damage
Yeah.
to a person? Like there's no reason to put two things together that don't work, right? It's just certain chemistries don't match. You could fall in love. You can be doesn't matter. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to end up with them. You know. So she goes so.
That's a
And
big
it's
one.
okay. It's just it's understanding what it's like. It's chemistry of a team. Look at sports teams. You can have the best players in the world, and they can't win. It's all about chemistry, and certain chemistries work better together than others, and it's okay. And I'm not saying you don't love someone because you can't be with them. I'm very open to it, and for me, I can tell you the whole love idea later. I don't think of love as a feeling. I think of love as a vessel of this energy in which you are able to feel all your feelings fully. When you are in the state of love, you feel everything, max pain, happiness, joy. Every feeling is felt completely and thoroughly.
That's the human experience.
And that's when your heart's open and you're vulnerable, which I think is just power, not your weakness. But going back to the question with that, she goes, I can make that she goes, has anyone ever told you you're a narcissist? I'm like, if someone's told me, I send her the test, right? And she goes, well, I'm perfectly, I sent her a little picture of my test. I can show you. I'm perfectly capable of making that assessment on my own. And I'm like, then why the fuck you asking me? That was a red flag. When I got that message, I knew it's the beginning of the end. Like that was like, of course I still went on with it because you're in a train wreck. You want to see how you end up, right? Like, happened to me. I've done it 1,000 times. It's fine.
But do you think she was right?
Right or wrong, I don't know because that again, I'm not. You don't self-diagnose.
Okay,
yourself.
but did you ask around like friends and your mentors?
Of course, I asked my therapist.
And what did they say?
They said no. Like they said, we all have narcissistic traits, but I wouldn't say you're a narcissist.
Okay.
Okay. So that doesn't matter. It's just that
Yeah.
was the red flag. So anyway, that was interesting.
Okay. Let's go back to tennis career, athlete, blah blah blah. At some point,
Not really career. Listen, I played till I was 17.
What happened after that?
Nothing.
You
I went to work.
why did you quit?
So, I was back in my generation when I was playing tennis. If you weren't in a position to be competing at a pro level,
They at some point they're like, hey
No,
man,
they
find
just-
a real job.
no, it wasn't that. It was just that one of my tennis coaches gave me a really good chance. He said to me, "You have, you got a, 20% chance, to play, because he was sitting about it. He goes, you can go out there, you can play pro. You have a 20% chance of making it. Actually, better. Call it at the. If you were talking about like, let's say basketball, right? Professionally, call it what's the one right below the NBA? Whatever.
Minor.
Like let's say minor league baseball, right? Before you go up to
Yeah.
the highest level of minor league baseball, and then you got like a 6% chance of breaking the top 100. And he's like, but you make no money there, so his recommendation is go work. Because no.
Your coach said that.
Well, a guy who coached me before,
Oh shit.
and so
How did you feel when you heard
no,
that?
it's fine. Like it's his opinion. I get it. Like you look.
No, but did you feel like your dreams were shattered? It was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be a.
No, I don't have. I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't have that.
What do you mean? Well,
I
come
don't
on.
have those like. I don't think that way. Like I don't have this like. Maybe maybe it's something that's wrong with me. I don't have these dreams of,
So you never dreamt of becoming the next Andrea Agassi?
No. I just love tennis, and if it happened, it happened. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. I never look at life that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm repressed. I don't know. I just never.
So you were like, okay, next chapter, let's go.
Well, what am I doing? I don't go, but like, yeah, I don't get over it that way. I don't have these.
So you never felt like your identity was connected to you, a tennis
As an
player.
athlete, no.
So you felt you were beyond that.
Yeah, I listen. Anything I was doing, I'm not my job. I'm not my sport. Maybe it's a fault of the awareness. It's not. It's like who cares?
That's amazing, man.
Like who? Like,
Yeah, no, I
it's
admire
like,
that.
It's like I built a bit. Who cares? Like it doesn't matter what I've done. What matters,
But you invested so much energy and time and
and people invest energy and time building countries and armies and culture, and then it gets wiped out in a second. Like, what are we talking?
yeah, but you didn't get any like
I don't have.
disappointment
I
or
mean, look at history. Like, what am I getting upset about?
okay.
You know,
That's
you get
incredible.
you get upset like you know certain things or you know, but what is there like?
Yeah, yeah.
And that maybe that's because of you know some kind of weird or awareness and understanding. I just wasn't attached to much of what's going to happen, and if it needs to happen or if it should happen, I don't know. I always knew that it may never. I told my friends like, you can do everything right. Like, look at life. You get the best athletes in the world. One injury, they're done. Gone, shattered.
Yeah.
So why does one guy do really well and the other guy does not? You could call it luck. There's all this energetic.
But I get it now, man. You're 40. How old are you now?
I'm very old.
So now you have this awareness, but back
No,
then it surprises me that you had this back then. You know?
I don't know. What can I do? I mean, you know, my parents were told I'm an alien. I don't know. Like I looked at my parents. They were like what they were doing was ridiculous. What most people were doing were ridiculous.
What were they doing?
Just behavior of people. I watch people how they behave, and I look at them, and it's ridiculous.
Like, well, give me an example if you can.
I mean,
Like discussing, fighting, like jealousy.
no, it's religion, the approach to money, the way people view other people and cultures, and what they're, you know, what they believe and don't believe, you
Okay.
know, and how their brain processes information, you know.
Was it hard for you to disconnect from all of that?
No, it wasn't hard to disconnect. It's just hard to live in. Like when you're subjected to a certain environment
Yeah.
that you're in, you know. I mean, I remember in high school, it's a very funny story. So I watch guys' behavior, and guys, you know, when they're younger, say certain things, do certain things. Like I have a friend of mine, and the reason I was friends with him is he slept with more women, I think, than anyone I've ever met.
Okay.
But he never said, I fucked her. He never said anything vulgar. I had a wonderful time. He was always romantic about it. He was never.
Was a dreamer.
He was just the way he approached life. And everyone, listen, everyone does what they do. I don't judge. I have my opinion on how relationships work and chemistry and how you build certain things that last, you know, and connections and, you know, but everyone does what they do and that's fine. But, you know, for every action, there's a reaction. So the price you pay for doing certain things, you know, is a real result of your actions. And, you know, that was, you know, that was very, you know, I had, you know, that was a very kind of soothing person to be around. And then in high school, I just remember like people's behavior, and I would sit back and I go, like even my friends when I was younger, like it was, you know, ridiculous.
But why soothing this guy? I'm interested in this guy.
Mhm.
Let's call him Jim. Why was he soothing? Because he had this poetic
I think
approach to life.
I think he had a deeper understanding of this world is not the last stop, and he had a more spiritual approach. And you know, he was just different in the sense that he lived differently in the idea that the regular system definitely doesn't work for him. He's totally an artist. I mean, he's completely, you know, disconnected. He can't function like, properly. It's, you know,
What is he into today?
He did a lot of different things. You know, he was in the circus.
No.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. You know, and then you know, life beats you up a little bit, but he had this different approach. He's the one who taught me to water fast. He would do a bunch of fasting. I mean, I fasted before, but he was
heavy into it.
Yeah, you know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in the desert. You know, super interesting guy. But yeah, you kind of resonate and start to kind of feel what.
So you were feeling more connected with these individuals than
I just find that like I just look.
The mainstream modus operandi.
My first silent retreat that I did, I don't know, 15 years ago.
The Vipassana?
Yeah, 15 years ago. I realized the power behind words. And after, I didn't curse for 6 months. And I know they have a study saying people who curse live longer because they get their anger out, or it's a way.
Oh, it's a way to
But
like
yeah,
release
but I
stress.
recognize the power of words, the power of using a word that can hurt somebody. So, and I'm guilty of listen. I sometimes have my crazy moments too, more than I'd like to. But when you speak kindly, and you speak with intention, and you speak positively, it makes you feel better. It has a very deep effect on yourself and other people. And if you believe in karma and you believe in how you treat other people, it's very valuable. And that was a really big lesson. So,
You're talking about this guy
well, just
that whole opened up this whole like
no, I
world.
just no, it didn't open up. Just that was very clear. Like it just felt nice to be around somebody who doesn't use certain language. Like if I'm sitting with a girl, and she's cursing a lot, I'm not attracted. I don't feel the attraction fades. If a beautiful, sweet girl, even nice and polite, if every 10th word is a curse, it kind of is not very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that when you're sitting with someone and they're cursing?
Totally,
a lot,
man. Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you're like,
I mean, while you're saying, I'm thinking about my own experience, and absolutely,
I've sat down with
yeah.
someone like you know,
But even guys that refer
of
to
course,
women
okay,
as
well,
objects and all of them, like
correct.
I don't
So
know.
I've sat down and look, I can understand where people are coming from and the pain and girls, you know, what girls do to guys and guys to the girls, and it just never ends, right? It's like, you know, it like in karma, what I've learned and what I understand is if I kill you, you come back and kill me, and then I kill you, and it never ends, right? So it's abusing. If you're the abuser, you become the abused victim, and then you become the it's the perpetrator, and then it goes back and forth and never ends. It's this like, you know, never-ending cycle.
Uh huh.
Someone has to say it's enough. Like I'm done. I'm out. I'm not engaging. Curse at me. It's what Jesus spoke about.
That was about to say, man.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, that's what he taught.
Do you believe in that?
100%. There's no doubt. There's no. I've seen it. I've seen, like, if you ask me about karma, I'll tell you something. The closer you are, when you have the awareness, when you know you're doing something wrong, you pay the karma immediately. You're punished the minute you do it. Just by how you feel. Just by how you feel, you know in that moment that you did something out of integrity to yourself and to somebody else. And you feel it. And you pay the price.
All right, man. So let's go back chronologically. So you finish your tennis experience. What's next? What happens next?
Nothing. Oh, sorry. What do you...
You
Ask me, listen, you can ask me any question
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want.
yeah,
You're like, you know, I have no shame. Like,
Yeah.
like
but I want to contextualize. So
no, but just listen. You're free to ask me
Yeah.
anything, you know?
So you finished that experience. What
Which experience?
tennis? You're done with tennis.
I mean, obviously, I'm old. So like, I'm like, you know.
What do you do after that?
I came back to Florida. I went to college. I went to university.
So hold on, where were you when like you finished your? Were you in
High
Europe?
school. No, I finished high school. I was done. Yeah.
So you moved to Miami, get into tennis,
I moved.
travel around different tennis
No.
academies.
No, I finished high school. I wanted to go play. I wanted to go. What I wanted to do was, I wanted to go into a better school. So my coach went to Yale, and then after Yale became a professional tennis player. The guy, one of my coaches had a big impression on me. I got very lucky. I was very lucky who I met along the way. You know, so when I came to Florida, where my parents lived, the guy who was the head coach there and the assistant coach, one guy was former top 40 in the world in singles, top 20 in doubles in the 70s. The other guy was top 80 in the world, number one player in Canada.
Who was number one back in those days?
Sampras Agassi. When I was growing up, Courier, Sampras, Agassi, Chang, those guys. When I was a kid. You know, Boris Becker was time. You know, that was the time. And I had two guys that were in the top 100 with a lot of experience. Obviously, there was less money in tennis then for those, but I mean, they were good athletes that I respected. And then I had another guy. He lives in Florida. His name is George Bezekny. He used to yell at me because I'm a mental case.
This guy?
He played number one at Georgia, I think it was number one or number two. I forgot. He was the runner up in the NCAA.
What was he yelling at you?
You can ask. You gotta find him. You can interview him. He's a great guy. George is awesome. They're all great. They're all amazing.
Was that a way to motivate you, or just like?
No, because I would do things like I would play very well, and I would do something, and then like I would like smash my racket, and he would like start screaming at me like I'm an asshole because I could play better. It's all whatever. I mean, look, he doesn't know he never went to my house, so he doesn't understand how crazy my house was. But I realized that sports was my outlet. If I look back in perspective, right? Because when you have an experience in the moment, you cannot. If you're judging the experience you're having in the moment, you're not having an experience. Okay? Like when people are in flow state, you can only go back
when the experience is over
and have perspective. And what I probably did was because of the way my family and my household environment was, tennis and sports were my outlet for my anger, or for where I could diffuse my energy. That was it. That's probably what it was. And so obviously, with all the things going on, and the way my family was brought up, and the way they spoke to me, and we're not saying they did everything perfect. The circumstance what it was. Some things were very At least I know what not to do. Like I've never yelled at my daughter. Like I can talk to her calmly. I can communicate with her. I understand how to manage her in different schools and environments, and because I could say I know more of what to do because I experienced everything what not to do.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my education came from that. So looking back, tennis was really good. It was really a good outlet for what I was dealing with as a child. And somehow, if I look at it, I was able to get myself out of my house because my house was crazy. My parents would fight, throw things at each other, cut clothing, want to shoot each other. It was a war. Not that other people don't experience that, which they do, but I figured a way to get out of my house. That's if I look back, I would be like, wow, I orchestrated a way to convince my family to send me to boarding school. The last thing my mom would ever want to do is send me to it was a threat. Like you go to military school. That was never. It's like, please, send me. Like people go to boarding school when they're bad kids usually, like they're in trouble.
And you begged them to send.
I was like, let's rock it. I'm like, if I look back at 13, I wasn't probably aware of that's what I was doing.
Yeah, it was an intuition.
It was just like, but that's kind of what I orchestrated.
So when you didn't have that outlet anymore, like how was your life?
I still was an athlete. I trained.
Okay.
I played. I moved after I came here. I got involved with my dad. I joined the Marines.
What?
Yeah, they lied to me. I didn't go because I talked to several recruiters. I did all the tests, the ASVAB, the military test.
Yeah.
And obviously the U.S. government has the most money in the world. They have the best technology, the best schools. I mean, like, come on, like that's
Yeah.
And I was like, great, I can go. I can go get trained. The Marines were obviously of the armed forces. They're the hardest training camp. Right, the hardest is the Marine Corps before you go on to like whatever, if you go to SEAL or whatever else. And I drove down to 107th Street on Biscayne Boulevard on US 1, and signed up. And then I was asking a bunch of questions, and I asked different guys a couple of questions, and they never gave me a straight answer. So I felt very uncomfortable because when I know when someone's lying to me, and as soon as someone lies to me, it's like death. Like I know. Like my body shuts down. So I ended up not going.
Wait, but why Marines, man? Why did you have that?
Because that's like those are the best fucking trained guys. Like for the core for basic training.
Yeah.
They're the best trained guys.
Okay, but why did you want to be a Marine?
The best discipline in the world to continue with my with my discipline and my
So, but were you drawn by like combat life and like defending?
No, I don't want to kill someone. Defending, yes. Killing someone, not my idea.
Well, I mean,
yes. I've been defending people my whole life. It goes back to grade school. I got in a lot of fights at school. My parents tell me, I didn't know because they spoke to the principals. In a few public schools in New York, they said it was very dangerous for me because I would like defend the kids who were being bullied. I do remember the whole school trying, like the whole, like, 30 kids trying to, kill me.
Mm.
Didn't work. I'm still here. I
So
got in a lot of fights.
so you had that hero calling.
I don't know if it, I wouldn't, I don't know if it's, I
Well,
wouldn't
I
call
mean,
it that. All I know is that that's what happened. I can't, I can't name it something. I don't have this idea that I'm Captain America. Yeah, I don't have these visions like
I
you
mean, I
asked me.
hear that it's not necessarily like, like.
I have zero visions about being like, like when you said, do I want to be like like it's just what I do. I never had this idea like I want to be this guy or this
Yeah.
person or be seen this way. Like that was never part of me, And again, I don't know if it's because of the environment I grew up in, or which probably it is. But I never had this like it's me. I don't care. If no one knows it's me, I have no problem either.
So that didn't
I
work.
have nothing to prove.
Okay.
I was never trying to prove. I actually went in some of my work in my therapy. My therapist said you got to go out like and win, and I'm like or whatever. She goes, you should win, and I'm like, I don't care to win. Like it's not that big of a deal, Like, there was never this. I had this desire to win. I have the desire to do the best I can do and learn the most I can from my capacity, and from what's given to me. And that's all there is. And if I can pass that on and help someone and inspire somebody, that brings value. But other than that, I don't have this like it's got to be me. Like guys competing against. I never competed. Like guys compete for girls all the time. Whatever is yours is coming to you. You just like there's nothing to compete against. I have a very funny line I tell people. So I would tell this to guys. So you walk into a bar. There's 99 guys in a bar and one girl. How many people are in the bar?
10 people.
99 guys in the bar.
99, 100.
And one. No, there's one girl in the bar. There's no one else in that bar. That's all that's in the bar. If my goal is to meet a woman, and I went to the bar, okay, that's all I see. Because if I compare myself to every guy in there, short, taller, musician, you lose yourself. Of all the things you're not, you can only be what you are. I can't be anything else. Now I can be influenced and inspired by people, but I don't know those people. Now if I know somebody and they inspire me and I observe them and I watch how they speak and how they play tennis or basketball or sing or write or dance or educate or science, and I read about someone, great, I can be inspired and I can adapt myself. What we do is we all borrow from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hate this thing about student cultures and what you can and cannot do. We're all learning from each other, and we're all free to take the best of what each other has to offer and bring it into this life and experience it. But if you worry about what you're not, which comes the negative mind, you're lost. So it was always about what, and maybe this is maybe this is a narcissistic point of view, and I'm a narcissist. I don't fucking know. But what's the best I can do? And the question I always ask is, it's not what's good for me, it's what's good for me and everyone else around me.
For the community.
That's my mind. But that's where my mind is usually drawn to.
So, something else I wanted to ask you, man, is because I know you're big in like healing, holistic practices, spirituality. Like, how did that whole thing started? Was it triggered by this guy that you just mentioned, or it was like a gradual?
Listen, I was thinking about meditation when I was like 6 years old, 7 years old. I have no idea where it came from. I have no clue. I was telling things to my parents. I didn't believe in religion. Because what's funny is, in meditation, in the practice, let's say you do Kundalini Yoga, and you do a Kriya, and you do some kind of like, whatever, the breath, your action will yield a result. And you'll start to feel energy move and flow and things happen to you, which starts to tell you this thing beyond what you're taught. Religion is a good set of rules for practice, and I respect religion. I'm not saying disrespect it, but there's things in religion that work for all people and make people's lives better and communities. But there can't be so many religions that separate people. We're not separate. We keep on thinking we're separate from another, and this is the big mistake. We're all the
Connected.
same. No, we're all made up of the same chemicals, and unless we can find out we're different aliens from different planets, but then we're made up of the same things in the universe. So if you're from one planet or the other, whatever crazy, whatever you want to believe in, or if you have proof doesn't matter. We are all made up the same elements that exist in this universe. So we cannot be different. We experience things differently. We have different thoughts. But then again, we all have the same thoughts at some point in our lives. We all have anger. We all want to, So when religions are say, well, those people are different, I just that couldn't sit well with me. They're a different religion. What does that mean?
Are you referring to your growing up in a certain culture that
No, I mean
they were like very rigid?
No, everyone thought that way. Any culture, they all think they're different. I'm Catholic, what's different? I'm Jewish, I'm Muslim, what's different? It doesn't make sense.
Culture, same
When
thing.
we said like it doesn't make culture is what you adapt to. You eat a certain food, that's your culture.
Certain rules, certain traditions.
That's just tradition.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you different. That's your tradition. You're not harming anyone. Great. You buy into that? Amazing. You're telling me we're different because of our religion? What are we different in? The way we think? Yes. Who we are? No. So when someone says we're different, I just looked at them like they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, upbringing, what you were born into, so that was there very young. So I could never agree with what I'm being sold.
And you started to explore.
I don't know. It's not that I explored anything. I mean, I went to a Hebrew school. I went to a Catholic school. Not by choice. Hebrew school, not by choice. I had bad grades, so I had, when I came back to Florida, I couldn't get into private schools because my grades were bad. And so my parents went to me to public school because I had a lot of problems in public school. And back then the schools were still, they were rough, like New York. And so I went to Hebrew school. Not that that was any better. I didn't get into any fights there. But I learned some things.
Mm-hmm.
I learned into the psychology of how people see certain religions, just like I did in so when I left Tampa, I went to a Catholic school in Boca Raton. It was a good school. And I went to church. I love going to church because I could sleep there.
You sleep there?
Well, in church, no one bothers you. Close your eyes, you meditate. No one bothers you, right? You're just listening, all right? It's study. Here's our choice. Stay in your room and study or go to church.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to church, all right? So that was...
You were spending like afternoons in church?
I think we went 3 days a week to church in that school.
Huh.
It was either... I was boarding there, so it was either stay in your room and study, because if you're not Christian, you don't have to go, right? Or you can go to church. I was like, sign me up, let's go. I don't know. That's been with me since I'm really young. And we all have the capacity, we all have the ability to awaken to certain truths. And what I call universal truth. The universal truth is that you and I are made up of the exact same thing. I don't care where you were born, what color your skin is, makes no difference. We are the same. What makes us different is our culture and our experiences and how we behave and how we choose to act in this world. But if you can pull all that back, then you have a different perspective. I don't identify as I'm Russian, American. That's all nonsense to me. Because if I'm different, then I find something wrong with what you're doing, and then I find things that harm other people wrong. I find things that abuse other people wrong. Do I have control over it? No. I can control my actions to a degree, and I can try to make the best choice to surround myself with people who make me feel good. That's all I can do. So, I think we're born with a lot of things from a very young age. Like, you look at people who can just sing or draw. You're born with it. You can develop it, but certain things you're just born naturally further ahead in certain areas than other people. And if I said I was born with anything further ahead than most people, it was a certain awareness. That's what I was born with.
Did you was it like did you feel like it was like a quality that you possessed, or it was more like, oh shit, I don't want to feel like all of
No,
this,
like I
or
remember I was
why
like,
am I questioning all these things and my friends they just watch TV?
no, you know what? It's funny. Like, my friends would play video games and get high, and you know they'd smoke like they're 15, 16. We drive illegally around Miami with permits, and you know, I was in nightclubs at 13 years old here, and it was like kind of awkward. Um, no, that's just who they were. Like I never looked at it as like, why am I, why me? You know, it's what it was. It's what it is. I mean, what I think happened was I remember I was really young, and I found out. And I said, okay, whatever feeling I'm feeling,
Mm.
feelings are a certain energy, and during that expression of that feeling, there's something I can use that energy for to produce the best result. So when I'm really sad, when I was really sad and depressed, I usually wrote my best music. I wrote my best music depressed. The best music I ever wrote was super depressed.
Wait, man, wait. I didn't know you wrote music.
I did a lot of things. I mean, I wrote
Yeah,
song. I wrote song. I went to theater school. Like that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay,
yeah.
but
No, but I'm
you're
saying like
just slipping it in. But
no, but it doesn't matter. Like who cares? It's
it
like,
does, yeah, because I'm curious about it.
no, but like but I'm just saying like, but this is before all this happened. Depending on which way you feel, there is something that you can do that maximizes that energy for its best use, for its best good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm super depressed, should I go hang around people and make them more depressed? Hey, what's wrong? You okay? Like, you know, like, I, you know, like, why do I want to subject my energy that's not in a best place to inspire people?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to do that to you? So I just gotta stay away. And I'll tell my friends, look, if like, listen, if I'm not around, like, I'm just dealing with myself. Like, it's okay. Like, don't worry, I'll figure it out. But just know it's nothing against you. And you know, if you know, learning to ask for help is important if you need help
Yeah.
as you get older. But what I realized really young is the range of energy that's out there, which are feelings and expression, you have and can use that to its best good. And if you learn what you do really well during those times, you make your life more productive and more fulfilling. So if you're super depressed and it's the best time you can write, or write music, whatever, it's amazing.
And that is gonna impact people. Go for it.
Of course, why not? Makes them feel. I mean, I think a lot of musicians, I think they're like, if you look at a lot of artists and musicians, they write some of the best stuff when they're depressed. I think it's a common thing. Well, not special to it, unique. I just learned that with, I had to read a book, or I just observed my feel. I just really young got this, you know, this understanding and this feeling like, okay, I should be able to figure out what's the best use of this energy that I'm living in this moment.
Yeah. Well, normally depression has like a negative connotation, but what if depression is like a door that opens to a world of feelings that we normally don't
So
feel?
depression is when you suppress your feelings. Depress what you're feeling. That's depression. You don't want to feel fully the pain. Usually we suppress our feelings when, I mean, actually all of them. Like if I look back, like there's a lot of things you suppress. You just suppress your feelings, whether they're good, happy, joy, whatever the feelings are, joy, you know, gratitude, whatever they are. You suppress your feelings. That's all depression is. You're suppressing yourself. You're restricting yourself from feeling.
Hmm. Tell me more about your creative side. You said theater. I knew about that, but didn't know about.
No, I mean I don't. I played instruments as a kid. I mean, look, I have a lot of creativity in general.
Yeah.
I don't know, just you know, but
Do you write?
I write
What
here and there
What do you write?
a bunch of different things, little poems, little stories.
What kind of stories?
There's a variety of things I wrote. Lots of things unfinished. You know.
Huh. How do you feel in sharing those with the world? Was it?
I've shared a few things with people.
How was the feedback?
You know, I don't know. Some, mostly positive. You know,
Huh. What about acting, man? How was that? New York
a lot of fun. That was
stage?
taught me a lot. Well, I started with a private coach, which was one of my mentors, teachers, and then I went in audition for a very famous director in the theater world. Um, got into his program, got into his class, and learned a lot. And then through him, I met a couple other teachers, one I still work with today and speak to often. She's in New York. She's phenomenal. Her name's Karen Reynolds. So I studied with a guy named Roy Thomas, phenomenal man. Then I went to a studio called Terry Schreiber. He was Edward Norton's coach. Edward Norton speaks about him.
Hmm.
He's 80 something years old now. 4 years with him, and a woman named Carol Reynolds.
What kind of method is this?
I mean, he studied with everybody, so he has his own method. So it's pretty like within the rules he gives you. He gives you a set of. He teaches you to build a character based on he studied with Meisner, he studied with Strasberg, he studied with them, and Udahag, and all these famous well known acting coaches, and he directed and acted. So he what I learned through him is through a set of rules, by combining all these methods, and which the way he taught, which is unique. There's a lot of freedom in how you can develop a character.
Mm.
And in the beginning, it's funny because I remember going on stage, and I know I speak fast sometimes. I can slow it down, and how my nervous system is. I went out a few times, and I thought I really kind of conveyed the character and the message. And we get critiqued at the end of the scene. It was like a working studio.
Yeah.
And then you look up, and there's 12 people in the room, and some of them were phenomenal. There's a few times I was in there, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here, because these people are like 10,000 times better than me. Like, this is like, I don't know, it's fucking wasting my time. And I remember, I look up, and like you see 12 people, and they're all like bewildered. Like, what the fuck was that? And you thought you nailed it. Like, you thought you did a great job, and like, you're fucking patting yourself on the back, and you're like, yeah, this is bad. And everyone's like, they all saw something different, completely disconnected. And what he taught me, and what that process taught me, was how to convey a message through my words and my body, where every single person in that room, no matter where they're from, no matter what language they speak, saw the same thing. And when you can put that together, and you have that control, it's funny. You can't be an actor if you're a judge. It's actually a law. Because it's wild.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, if you're a lawyer, it's fine, but once you go into like the judicial, like as a judge in New York, you gotta stop acting. I gotta find that. I remember there was a guy in class. He was a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then he was becoming a judge, and he couldn't continue because it's not by law. You can't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I gotta find. It was something like that nature. I forget what it was. But yeah, it was amazing when some of the people, I had some people in the workshop and like the studio were working actors, and a couple of them were like phenomenal. It was it was nice when they were able to like give me perspective, and when they were impressed with some of the work I've done. That was like that was kind of like humbling. Like, sorry, pretty cool.
Did you approach it with the intention of
No, he said I was gonna work and
becoming like a professional working actor?
He told me I should be working and I should be auditioning. And
But what about you? Did you want to do that?
I went, but like, listen, he said you need a break, and I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, you got to call everybody you know, and I'm like, the people I know, they suck. A lot of people, they just suck. Like, I went to a friend. He's like, you're not an actor, you're a business person. I'm like, listen, if it happens, I'm ready. Like, I've done enough work. It's like a little exercise. Like, you don't forget it. I spent enough time doing it.
How many years were you in?
7. I spent like 30, 40 hours a week, between school and breaking down scenes and scene partners and
Yeah.
I mean, I read the most. It was amazing. I learned a lot because I read a lot of plays and a lot of history of certain different things. It was fun. I mean, everyone should do it.
Did it come natural to you? You know, some people are like
I have a friend of mine. He's
scared of the stage fright, and
my
they
friend said if you have no stage fright, you shouldn't act. If you're not a little nervous, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be acting. So I have a friend of mine who's a very good director. He went to some special film school in Czech Republic where some kids were selected. I forget. His name is Spencer Young. He's an artist now. And I had asked him years ago, like, about theater, and he goes, "Listen, dude, be prepared for one thing. You're gonna suck. This is not like you're good at it. No one's good at it."
yeah.
He goes, "You're gonna suck, but if you keep doing it, and you keep working, and you can break through, and you can deal with, the critique. This sucks. This is bad. If you can deal with that as a person, where you're not going to be good at something for a long time, and you can deal with that type of, environment, eventually you'll be good."
Do you think you deal well with the rejection and?
My guy, come on, we have to do it.
Not everyone. Some people get it very personal, so obviously they're not meant
you
to.
don't talk to girls?
I'm not talking about me, man, but I've seen it like in a professional environment where people get critiques really personal. So not everyone can can be an artist, for example,
I think
because there's a lot of rejection. Or like an entrepreneur.
Listen, I think not everyone will be an artist, but I think everyone is an artist in their own way. And I think that
Interesting.
we've all been rejected, and we just don't know what that feels like, because we don't, not what it feels like, we don't know what the person experiences. We've all been rejected. I don't think there's anyone on this planet that's never been rejected.
Yeah.
At some point in their life.
Yeah.
How it affected them, what it changed and caused them to do, what feelings do they have, but it's a part of life.
If you were to pick like your ideal character,
My ideal
a movie
character?
or play,
I don't have ideal.
who would you like to play?
I can't even answer that question. It's like,
Or what would be your typecast, do you think?
Well, I know it'd be typecast. I was
Bad guy?
I came in really angry from audition once, and they were like, when I'm angry, I'm pretty scary.
Okay. So like a villain?
Yeah, I mean, look, not that I like to play that, but the villain part. There's character actors, the ones who can take on many different forms.
Yeah.
And so they have the widest range, and that's what my theater coach was. He's like, look, there's so many things with your look and how you can transform this. There's a very wide range.
That's cool.
It's fun. Listen, I tell everyone, you want to learn about yourself? Good therapy. I mean, I was in theater school. I was taking a bunch of psychedelics at my doctor's house, taking therapy. I had a wellness center.
I know.
I'm banana. I'm like out of my mind, probably. I'm not, for sure I'm not, I don't think I'm I just have a lot of different experience, and it's giving me perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Does it help me? Does it hurt me? I don't look at it that way.
Do you think, man, having experience in so many different areas, fields, industries, can be a skill or sometimes is a limit? Because you know how things work,
Yeah.
Especially in this society, we're meant to go on a linear direction.
I mean, look, obviously people who succeed at one thing are very good at that one thing.
Yeah, but that's not you, probably not me.
There's certain parts. Look, all my friends who are very good mathematicians, some of the best mathematicians in the world, it's the same part of the brain as musicians, right? They're amazing musicians.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who will talk to me. We gotta send this video. I met him doing a bunch of psychedelics in upstate New York, and he's a sweetheart. He's one of the smartest guys I ever met. Computer science, PhD. Was teaching in Africa. On
Cool.
a mission. and then he became a big Wall Street executive, built all the technology in all the banks, you know, and he was a phenomenal pianist, and loved the guy. But he got mad at me one day. He said, "Don't yell at me, yell at your ex-wife." You know, he was just frustrated. So he's older than me. He's a funny guy. We'll send this recording, by the way. Let's just drop it in his Instagram or his WhatsApp. But I like I could learn a lot from him. Like I learned, like he, you know, as an executive in 20 something years and in corporate, and you know, I asked a lot of questions about different people, you know, and I asked them, you know, to get perspective, insight into how things work, and yeah, I think I think the brain and hacking the system, like just learning how to put the puzzle together and how the pieces work in harmony and what you have access to is part of the journey.
What's the puzzle for you?
Hmm?
What's the puzzle?
Everything's a puzzle. You're piecing together, like you're remembering, you're remembering what to do and what to create from moment to moment. You know, that's what I think it's about. I think it's learning to understand each moment has something for you to piece together and to learn, and it's one big puzzle. Confused?
No, no, not at all, man. I got this. I get this image of you. You definitely seen the movie Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
You give me the same type of vibe in the sense that it feels like you never intentionally wanted to follow anything. You just followed
My therapist sent me to theater school.
your passions, your whatever you wanted to do in that very moment, and then life just took you wherever, right?
No, so I never actually did what I want to do in every moment. What happened was I went to theater and I asked myself why I want to become an actor. And I didn't have a good reason. So I let it go. And I convinced myself not to go. I went to theater school a little bit in college in New York. I took a class. And then my therapist years later sent me back to theater school. She's like, "You should go to theater school." I said, "Why?" She goes, and she did some like voodoo magic, energetic stuff, you know, and so I went
Okay.
years later, many years later. Um, I don't question it, you know, just as it unfolds.
Are you still like pursuing that acting, storytelling
No, I told my friend's working on something. If he gets it greenlit, if it gets done, I'm sure he'll call me up. And he told me, like,
stage play?
no, it's a feature film. He's like, I got something for you. Cause I've been friends. That's how it works. You know, a lot of times, like, you know, somebody friendly. You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Unless it's
if
Hollywood.
if the film does well, even then, once the film does well and it gets picked up,
Yeah.
people might be looking for somebody. And, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't. I never. I'm not. I'm not looking as acting as a way of a way for myself to earn a living. You know, it has to be something I do out of like love, and if I end up making money from it, great. You know, but it's not like I gotta make money doing this. You know.
All right. Alan has to go. We'll continue next time, man, because I had a bunch of things I wanted to ask you. But is there anything else that you want to say to like finish this conversation, like a message or something that I didn't say you want to say? That you
I
got
mean,
like
if you know,
full.
I never asked you is like when you do this podcast, what's the purpose or what are you using this podcast for?
Are you familiar with the hero's journey?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm exploring that on myself and on people's lives. I'm fascinated by people's stories, where they come from, what they have overcome in their life, and I'm learning. And my learning, I'm sure, is going to help other people learning through your own experiences, you know. So I'm creating this platform in which like share experiences essentially.
So my, if we're trying to like educate people or advise them or see if there's anything that they can pull apart from what they're hearing, is learning to be patient and really being patient and being calm and learning to relax the nervous system and understanding how to relax the nervous system will allow you the most growth and be able to digest and have perspective on what's happening. So whatever you can do to, whatever makes you relaxed, if it's music, breathing, slowing down, walking slowly, doing things slower, slow down. The more you slow down, the more results you'll have, the more positive results you'll have. That's what I can say.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank
We'll
you.
do it again.
Definitely.